All right, guys, we are back. Episode two. No one hit wonders here. Extra Reverb podcast. And I am here with Gabrielle Gandor, the great Gabi Marii music. Know her pretty well. Gabby, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate you, Aaron. I'm so
Really
happy to be here.
appreciate you
So
being
proud of
here.
you and happy to help in any way I can.
Love it. Very honored to have you as my second guest. I think we're gonna have a great talk here. So, for the people that don't know you, like I do, or the people that follow you already, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from? Who are you? Lay it out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the awesome intro, Aaron. My
Yes.
name is Gabi Marii. I am Syrian American, but I was raised in West Texas my whole life. I really decided that I wanted to pursue music and also pursue a career in international relations. So currently, I live in Washington, D.C., and I'm trying to basically make a form of storytelling music that combines R&B and Arabian beats.
Very cool. That's awesome. Um, you say you're from West Texas. What part of West Texas is that?
Yeah, I'm from middle of nowhere, West Texas. It's called Lubbock, Texas, Texas Tech University, Reckham. And yeah, kind of oil country, nothing
Mhm.
much. It's flat, it's dirt, it's brown, but it's home. So it's definitely a nice, I always say it's a nice place to grow up because everywhere else you go, you're very impressed. You're like, oh my gosh, they have trees, they have
Yeah,
green. Like,
true.
I'm not used to that.
I
Um,
could see that.
so yeah, I make fun of it a lot, but no, it is my home, forever my home. And so go between there and Dallas when I go back to Texas.
Sweet. What's in Dallas, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, just got some friends in Dallas.
Cool.
A lot of people also trying
And
to make music
you're
in Dallas.
in Washington, D.C. now.
Currently, I live in the swamp. Yes.
Okay. What brought you all the way from West Texas to Washington, D.C.? How long you been there?
Yeah, I've been in DC for almost 2 years now. Originally, I actually wanted to move abroad. I actually had nothing to do with DC. I was in West Texas. I'd graduated college and I really wanted to teach English in the Middle East, but it
Okay.
didn't work out for me. So I was just kind of, throwing my applications out everywhere. Found this nonprofit job where you were working with State Department officials, people on Capitol Hill,
Hmm.
and putting together foreign policy presentations. So I thought, okay, why not? Thinking like this is not gonna happen. I'm not gonna move to DC. Um, but it worked out. So I had bought a car the week before. So I sold my car immediately, came up to DC, and now I work on Capitol Hill. So
Okay.
pretty fun, but really trying to be a lot more intentional about music as well.
Yeah. So you're like pretty entrenched in the politics, right?
I, you know, in my everyday life, in my everyday job, I am entrenched in the politics.
Right.
So I wish I could say that outside of that, like, yeah, I stay away from everything. I just keep it focused. But unfortunately, I do like to argue for fun. So I do stay entrenched in politics in every
Perfect.
which way possible. It's very
So,
important. It's very important to know about your politics.
no, 100%. I try to know what I can, but still fringe on like I know this, but if it's not something immediate or really gonna affect my life directly very quickly, I'm kind of still like on the outside of it. Like, okay, that's over there. I'm aware of it. I understand it, but I really don't want to take part.
That's okay. That's okay. Not everybody has to have a voice about everything. That's
you
completely
know,
fine. That's the one thing
so
I've learned in politics.
sometimes maybe better not to have a voice.
Right. Or to empower others who's, more directly affected by a certain situation. Power their
Right.
voices can
And I think
sometimes
that's
be the
where we
thing.
get these, different people, the Candace Owens of the world, where it's like, okay, I agree with what she's saying. I'm not speaking for me directly necessarily all the time, but okay, I agree
Sure.
with this person, whoever it may be, and I am going to let them say it for me so I don't have to put myself out there like that because I'm not really into that. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off the rails that way. My question is,
You can go
because
wherever
we can
you
go
want.
down a rabbit
I
hole
love
there really
talking.
quickly.
Okay.
And my question is now, okay, so you mentioned that's kind of like, how did the music get all tied into this? When did you start singing? And is that still, and is that why you want to intertwine the two? Are you trying to intertwine the two?
Hmm. No, that's a great question. And a lot of people, when I tell them that I want to do music and politics, ask, okay, like, music is the hobby or,
Hmm.
politics is the hobby. And I tell them, no, I want to do music and politics. I want to sing full time and I want to, advocate full time. And so actually, thank you for this question. I really like to talk about this.
Yeah.
I started singing when I was 7 years old. And it wasn't even because, oh, like I always knew singing was my calling and not at all. I didn't fit in as a 7 year. I told you I grew up in West Texas. Okay. I
Hmm.
look like this, dark hair, tan skin. I was just with a bunch of like blonde, blue-eyed kids. And at the time, it it wasn't really cool to be it's not like Trader Joe's now selling like Za'atar spice and everybody can use it. It wasn't cool to
Right.
have different foods. It wasn't cool to look different. It wasn't cool for my parents to have an accent. So I actually didn't know English when I was in the first grade.
Oh,
So
wow.
I moved here pretty young and then of course spoke Arabic in the household. So I learned English through school. So it was this like little in between time
Gotcha.
where I didn't know anyone and I didn't know how to make friends. Like I wanted to talk, but like I didn't really know how to talk. No one really wanted to be friends with like that, like weird girl doesn't look like them. So
We fixed that problem.
we fixed that problem very quickly. I was like, how am I going to talk to every person possible? So, anyways, though, in that in between, I took up singing lessons. And I would say that singing became for me the proudest way that I could find my identity. So,
Okay.
feeling in between, feeling like I had an identity at home and I had an identity at school and feeling just lacking in both. Like, okay, yeah, I speak Arabic, but I don't speak it so well that I can read and write. And
Hmm.
yes, I'm accustomed to American culture, but I don't feel like I fit in. I didn't at the time, at least with all these groups of people. But when I told people I was a singer, that was something everybody could agree on that I could agree on. I felt like, okay, this is mine. This is my thing. So it
Sure.
was always my hobby going to school. And I never wanted to pursue singing professionally. I always thought like, yeah, that's crazy. That could never happen. And I actually wanted to be a surgeon, a neurosurgeon. So
Okay.
I studied my whole high school career. I was like, I want to be a nurse. I went to science camps. I took summer classes. I did everything I could possibly do to where I even almost bought a fake ID so that I could sneak in to watch like a brain surgery happening because they wouldn't let me in when I was 17. I was so serious about it. But then I just kind of had a come to Jesus moment. And I realized I'm not good I would not be good at surgery and I wouldn't be
Okay.
good at anything science related. So I was like, okay, what am I good at and what do I love? And so I decided I really like to talk. And I was thinking a lot about what actually makes change. And so thinking about any, you know, cultural movement, any situation where maybe there's war, but the public is involved, or, there's civil unrest. I always think that law alone does nothing if there's no cultural movement to back it up, and vice versa. So I realized that if I wanted to truly create a change or make an impact, I would have to use hard power of law and soft power of culture, which for me would be music. So I just
Okay.
ended up realizing that I think the best way that I can personally contribute to making some sort of change, however small or big that may be, is to, push for better laws that represent American people and internationally, um, you know, and laws that coincide internationally with partners in the diplomatic world, as well as music that helps affect people's lives. Very long-winded answer. So
No, I love that. There's a lot to unpack there. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted that you kind of mentioned was that you use the music to give you a voice, right? As kind of like an empowerment
For sure.
when maybe you didn't have friends yet and this kind of stuff, which I think I really love that because you hear like this. I feel like a lot of times the story that you hear is, oh, I'm using it as an escape from this or my life, or this is my outlet, right? Is that less of what it's about for you and more of like, I have something to say and this is my best way to say it because I have this talent? Or is it an escape in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it's both. You know, it's like I feel like when you're singing, nothing matters around you. And I've
Mm-hmm.
always thought that when I would, even just be on a middle school stage, like performing for them, like eighth grade theater or like a recital, a quarterly recital that we had, I remember thinking to myself, this is what it feels like to get high. I was like, I never have to do drugs because I know what it feels like to be high. I was like, this is
Very cool.
performing on stage just gay. I don't know if it's because I love attention. Definitely, that's definitely like one reason. But just beyond that, I just felt so elated that I could just hold people's attention, even if it was only for 2 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and make them feel some sort of way, make entice some sort of feeling, almost like the ultimate form of persuasion is music because it hits the deepest. So I would say I did use it as an escape to feel and to work through my emotions. And even now,
Okay.
trying to songwrite, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't advocate this, but I kind of stopped going to therapy and started songwriting more because I realized that I was getting to all the conclusions that I needed to just by sitting down, writing how I feel, putting it down in a song, and then realizing, oh, okay, well, it wasn't that serious after all. Or, oh, okay, wait, this is something that I can apply to a very general song. Therefore, it's a problem that everyone's going through. So I would definitely say it's both an escape and also a source of identity.
Okay. That's awesome. Really cool. So my next question, I guess that would lead to where I want to go with this is you said that you realized you put all this work in to be a surgeon. You realized you had this come to Jesus. I think you said it was
Yes,
about you'll never be good at science. What was that moment? When did that happen? And what made you realize that I'm doing the wrong thing?
that's a great question. And honestly, it was a series of circumstances. So, starting my senior year of college, I was, applying to just the best colleges I could think of, Ivy Leagues, top schools in Texas, you know, all these programs. And at the same time, I was finishing up the program I was doing in high school. And ironically, I was studying to be a surgeon, and the only test I failed senior year and I didn't get credit for was biology. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So, so I'm actually not that good at this. It doesn't come that naturally. I didn't really like my science classes, but I still wanted to be a surgeon. I thought, okay, you know what? Being a doctor is about, you know, talking to your patients and whatnot. So I was actually, talking through essays with my college, my counselor for college, or, the woman who helped write my essays and everything. And she looked at me and she was like, none of your resume fits with being a doctor. And I was like getting so defensive, like, what do you mean? Like, I almost snuck into the OR. I don't know what you're talking about, all this. And she was like, okay, you did mock trial. You're on the debate team. You're in the choir. Like, I don't understand. None of this has to do with it. Seems like you should go to law school. And I just had never occurred to me because I always just thought, okay, all these things are boring. Anyway, so it
Mm-hmm.
kind of led to some feeling lost. I felt very lost. I had wanted something for so long, not to mention there was a lot of pressure in my family that, we're immigrants. We didn't come here for
Sure.
you to waste any sort of opportunity. So, you're going to get something that makes money and you're going to get something that feeds a family and you're going to do work that's respected. And it had always been, told to me,
Yeah.
okay, that's what a doctor is. And so that wasn't my only motivation, but it definitely took a part in it. There's a big part of me that always respects my parents and doesn't want to make them too mad, but at the same time, realizing where my passions lied. So I guess I kind of came to this moment where I was like, I'm really not that good at this. What am I good at? And so I kind of went over, I literally made a pros and cons list of what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. Objectively, what other people tell me, what I like doing. And it just kept coming down to, okay, talking, law school, talking, law. So I was like, okay, I guess I want to do something, law, politics, international relations, something like that.
Okay.
But I still kept finding it boring. And I still, so anyways, long story short, or I guess like long story so long, because I know we've been going on for a couple of minutes,
I
but
was gonna say,
okay,
no, I
and
love it.
that's
I
not
love
too
it.
short, not too short, but to get to the point, at the end of the day, I actually couldn't afford to go anywhere that I had applied to. And because I had kind of been involved a lot more in music my senior year, I had quit it my sophomore year. It was like the worst year of my life. So I decided to continue music. And I realized that once it was gone, I realized how much it meant to me. So I had been a lot more focused on music. I applied to Berklee College of Music. And it was, solely studying music. And my parents were not happy about that. When they realized that I was getting into music, they were like, oh, yeah, this is not where we want you to go. Like, you're going to be broke.
Yeah,
You're not going to make it. You're just going to be, they're like,
but they
you're
knew you had a
talented.
really good voice.
Yeah, but they didn't care. I mean, they were like, yeah, okay, everybody has, everybody on the street corner going to have a good voice. So it's like,
That's not true.
okay, well, I agree, Aaron. That may not be true, but in their eyes, it's like it doesn't
Yeah,
matter though. You
100%.
it takes a lot to make it, and they're right. So I,
Sure.
you know, when I got into, I had Texas Tech University is the university I ended up going to. I'm very thankful for my opportunity there, but I didn't want to stay in the city that I was at. At the end of the day, I got in everywhere I wanted to get in, but I couldn't afford to go. So that was the ultimate circumstance that led me to
Got it.
realize, okay, so it's actually out of depression. I was like, I was never even going to seriously consider music after that. I was like, I'm going to college, I'm going to study politics, and that's that. But I was so depressed. I was in a place I didn't want to be. I was surrounded by people who didn't understand me. I felt so less than and so not worthy because all these people were going to bigger schools and were going to, you know, Ivy Leagues
Hmm.
and we're going to actually, and my school was great, but it was in my hometown. I was living at home. It didn't have the best program that I was looking for. So out of desperation, I decided to go to music school in the middle of nowhere. City is like
Hmm.
not even city, town of 13,000 population.
So you say out of desperation. So you're feeling depressed, and out of desperation to get out of depression, you went with music school. So you
Exactly.
made the decision that music, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go do this because that's why I'm not depressed. What made you realize ultimately that that was going to be the answer?
I think I just hated my life. I was like, this is just not, I mean, there's nothing worth meaning here. And I mean, of course, that was a lot of internal problems as well. And but I felt like everything that I did that had to do with music, although it was hard, the doors just opened. And what I mean by it is this. I decided last minute that I was going to go to music school. And my parents and I fought for 1 year so that I could go to music school. They were like, this is not a serious career. This is not something you need to be wasting your time on. This is great. You can keep making videos online, but this is not something you're going to focus on. But I don't know, something inside me kept fighting back. I was like, no. I was like, I should be able to do this if I want to. I'll pay for it. I'll whatever. So basically I made the agreement with my parents that if I paid for college, like I got scholarships to cover college. I made sure I went to the music school and I was like, what are we going to do to get this covered? Like, how are we going to, whatever. So
Yeah.
I I think at first it kind of started because I'm stubborn. And I was like, no, like I'm gonna do what I want to do. I feel like I want to do this. So I still wasn't serious about music. I just wanted to be able to choose whether or not I could do it. So I still wasn't that serious.
Okay.
I went to music school just thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna like get to do something fun. Like I'm gonna get to perform. I'm gonna get to be creative. And it was still just something fun. But after several classes where I was learning how to songwrite, learning about the music business industry, I just couldn't see myself not constantly pursuing it because even if I never make it as a professional singer or if I never get famous, if I never have a platform, I realized that I find my happiness in the pursuit of a music career and a career where I can advocate for the causes I care about. So
It's awesome.
In the end of the day, that's, I guess, what made me realize it. I just, there's something kept pulling at me like, no, I have to do this. And so, yeah, it was complicated to decide last minute to go to college, but it worked out. I mean, the scholarships were there. They needed somebody in their program. The teachers were willing to audition me last minute, and it just worked
Hmm.
out. My senior year, I had a nonprofit, and I did I the whole final like season of the project was that we put on a benefit concert. It was very hard. We tried to raise money for a year. Nobody cared, and nobody was buying tickets and whatnot. And after organizing for a year and finally getting this benefit concert on, and just we had like, I think 100 people show up to the benefit concert, and I felt kind of like, okay, I didn't do good enough. I didn't raise enough money. I didn't, all this. I think it was a couple months afterward that 17 magazine reached out to me and asked me if they could interview me because I was using
Okay.
music to help children in areas that are underserved. And I was like, what I was like, why? How
That's
does 17 magazine even know that I
great.
exist?
Yeah.
And it just felt like every time I'd put my passion, music would be there. And every time I'd put my passion, my music and hard work, it wasn't like it didn't come with work, but doors just opened. And that's how I ended up feeling like, okay, this is something that I at least have to pursue or die trying.
Right. And in this, you were doing this and you obviously became more happy and realized that definitely played a role, I assume, right? Because when you're doing something and you're passionate about it, and then, okay, things just kind of get rolling, right? Because I don't think
Right.
it's necessarily personally, you say doors opened, yes, but there's a reason. The actions you took opened those doors. I think the doors are always there. And I think that's with a lot of people. I think the
It's a
doors
good
are
perspective.
there and they see them, but they don't check to see if it's unlocked. They just see that it's closed. There's doors that are automatically open based
Oh,
on where
that's
they
a good
come from,
metaphor.
based on all those things. And then they're like, oh, this one's here. I'm not, but it's closed. I'm just going to go through the open door, right? Because they're
Sure.
both facing the same direction, whatever.
Sure.
And they know nobody ever checks to see
I
if it's
love that
unlocked. So I
metaphor.
think,
I love that metaphor.
thank you. But I just think that I think that's a little bit, you finally just, the door was there because of your talent, because you loved it. Because, and then finally, out of a desperation, you decided, well, I went through that door. That's not it for me.
Right.
I need to go and check this. Let me see if this other door is unlocked. And
Let me just see.
lo and
Exactly.
behold, there it is, right? I think that's
Exactly.
awesome. So then from there, you went to music school, and how long were you there?
I was in college for 2 years. And
Okay.
then one semester was I did an internship in DC before I moved up here. So
Okay.
I wasn't I like I said, I didn't want to be in the city where I was my hometown. I felt very, very bored, so I made it as quick as possible. So I graduated in about 2 years, and I was continuing music school regardless. I'm actually a music school dropout. I never graduated. I tried to finish the classes, but then
Oh
I got a job in
man.
DC. I know. What are we going to do? I got a job in DC. And then I was like, okay, I guess I remember my professor looked at me when I got the offer, and I was like, should I stay here? And she was like, should you stay here in the middle of Texas? She's like, you can do music anywhere. Why are you going to stay here in the middle of nowhere? Like, I mean, it served me for the time that I used it. It gave me
Sure.
everything. I'm not talking down on where I'm from at all. But at
Everything
that point,
happens.
yeah, I had outgrown it, and I didn't even realize this. Like, I wanted to stay there and could so, okay, to answer your question, 2 years and some, 2 years and like a month, I think.
Okay. 2 years of change. I mean, that's good. I'm sure you learned a lot. And then ending up in DC, isn't it funny how thing is that just an opportunity that came to be, or was DC a place you were targeting to go at some point because you said you wanted to use your potential platform that you want to build to raise awareness about issues you care about, and what a better place to do it. And
For
it's
sure.
just, I think it's very cool, and it's that how that comes to fruition, isn't it? So is that something you were targeting
Thank you.
happening where you wanted to be to get that going, or did it just happenstance go that way?
DC was on the radar. Like I said, I mean, once it didn't work out for me to go work internationally, I was just thinking, okay, well, where have I worked before? I had interned here. I really liked it. I'm also a big fan of R&B, hip hop. A lot of your original creators of the genre are from the Northeast. So I thought, okay, you know, I learned a lot of country in Texas and it was great,
I'm sure.
but right. But I just thought, okay, I have this opportunity to go work there. And, for all the people still in my family who, were not crazy about this music thing, it was kind of, honestly, it was kind of a way to just be like, hey, okay, I have a real job. I have a real job. And obviously, I need to make a living regardless. So I just realized that no matter where I went, I was going to make music work. So I just made that decision. So it was kind of happenstance that I ended up in DC. I always wanted to work somewhere close to advocacy, like I had said, and politics. So um, it's good that it ended up here. But
Yeah,
I think I could have ended up a number of places and maybe um, in a parallel position to where I'm at now.
interesting. I just think it's, I think it's a more than coincidence. I don't really believe in coincidences, and that this is the direction you're heading, right? When you're doing the right things and you're in the flow, everything happens to work out, even when it seems like it won't, right?
Even
And
when it
things,
seems like it
all this
won't.
is there, and it all just happens. We all end up where we're supposed to be ultimately,
Rejection's
right?
God's protection. That's what I always say.
That's it. And then, so you got to DC at that point musically. Where were you? Had you put out music? Had you performed? What kind of stuff had you started to get into? You said you weren't taking it serious. Did that change? When did that change?
Hmm. Hmm. Midway through music school, I realized that I couldn't see myself not pursuing music, whether or not I got there. And towards the end of it, I realized, okay, this is serious. I want to start putting out music. I want to start writing. I want to start working with producers like you. But when I came to DC, I was diagnosed 2 weeks before I came to DC with vocal notes. So
Oof,
I,
okay.
yeah, my life was shattered because most people only have a reference of vocal notes from Pitch Perfect, from the scene where she's like, I lost all ability to sing, and now I sound like a toad and whatever. And I
Yeah.
also had that. I didn't really understand what vocal notes were. So when I got diagnosed with vocal notes, I thought my life was over. I was like, great. Well, there goes my whole life talking and singing. But
Right.
I realized that every singer or every talker at some point or another may have a problem with nodes. So I actually came to DC and I didn't sing for a year because I was doing speech therapy. I couldn't really
Wow.
talk. It was, again, being that depressed over not being able to use my voice just confirmed for me that I still wanted to do this. I thought this meant, I honestly thought, I was like, oh my God, is this a sign that I shouldn't be working on any of this? But I just realized, no, this is something that happens. It's like an athlete is more likely to tear their ACL or whatever. So a singer is more likely to develop notes than the average person,
Sure.
especially somebody like me who just like cannot stop talking. So then I just learned better habits to help my voice, started making videos about it, and then let that be my segue back into singing. So my voice is actually still not 100%. I'm still relearning different techniques so that I don't make the notes worse.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's where I was. And so now I'm just trying my best to keep writing and put
Yep.
out songs with you.
Yep. And you're doing great at that. Can't wait for some of that stuff to come out. So then so you haven't really, since you got the nodes, you've just kind of been getting better, learning the craft, getting ready to release some
Exactly.
music, right? That's going to change
Exactly.
the world. Um,
I hope so.
and then, okay, so prior to that, did you ever perform anywhere? Did you ever did you
Mhm.
try to do anything first to work in music
Mhm.
before maybe coming to DC?
For sure. So when I had started singing lessons in the first grade, we had quarterly recitals. So we had about 4 recitals a year. We had this, huge Christmas show, this showcase. And so I've been performing ever since I was a little kid, but I still didn't have a great command of the stage. So once I got to music school, learned more about stage presence, and then I started gigging. So started to find musicians, tried to perform in a band. I got to meet very talented musicians in Lubbock.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, it was honestly phenomenal opportunity. I will say this: musicians, specifically jazz musicians, are the smartest people I've ever met in my life. The ability to not know a song and to play it by heart on a first take in front of a crowd, I've never seen something like it. So I learned a lot about the politics of the music industry, even in the context of a small town. I learned a lot about dealing with other musicians, how to clarify what I'm trying to say, because not everyone lives in my mind, and not everyone is a singer who doesn't really play an instrument. So yeah, I was gigging a lot in Texas. I came up to DC and I actually wanted to start gigging. And I actually did a random karaoke night with my
Okay.
coworkers one night. And I told the band, I said, I'd love to talk to you after, this, our little karaoke song and whatever. So it was a Texas place, actually, Hill Country Barbecue in DC. Okay. I always end up in a Texas place, I
Okay.
guess. So
Shout
I
out
went
Hill
and talked
Country
to them.
Barbecue.
Shout out Hill Country Barbecue. And I told him, I was like, hey, I would love to perform with y'all. I would love to, you know, be a singer for you if you ever need one. And the guy looked at me and he said, how serious are you about this? And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm pretty serious about music. He said, do you want to make it? I said, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the goal eventually. He said, okay, don't perform with us. I was like, oh, okay, okay. He was like, don't perform with us. Focus your energy into making videos online and writing your songs and focusing on your brand. And when I was like, wow, this person that I am trying to do service for is telling me you're better off not. He literally said, if you were a single mother of three just trying to sing at weddings, I'd say yes. But you got a career ahead of you, so you can't be wasting your time with us. I was like, wow, okay. There's definitely something to be said about learning stage presence,
Yeah,
but I think for the
that's
time
real.
being, yeah, then that was real. Yeah. So I think for the time being, I'm trying my best to up my status and ability to make videos quickly and professionally, and get more creative. So
Okay.
that's where I'm at now.
That's awesome. So when you go and you're making your music, what do you, where does your inspiration come from? What is there something that you really try to get across? What's the creative process for you? Where do you get your ideas from? What
Yeah.
perspective do you draw on?
So as you know, I've
Hmm.
had a very hard time with this because
Yes, we worked on it.
we've worked on it a lot. Aaron never stops talking to me about how I need to be reframing my mindset, because knowing that I have a huge vision, I used to go into songwriting with a goal. Like, okay, I want to talk about this situation in a very creative and specific way, in a way that you don't really understand what I'm talking about, but you get the point, and it's a bop, but at the same time, it has a deeper meaning. And all of these constructs around what this song has to be. And I'd go in and I would sit down and write nothing. I'd sit down for 2 hours and just not get anything out. And if I did, it was something just so ridiculously generic, or even the opposite, so ridiculously specific that it didn't make any
Hmm.
sense. Um, and you were the one that told me, listen, don't go in with an agenda. You're putting so much pressure on yourself that it's not
Yeah.
relatable. It doesn't seem authentic. You're not achieving your goal. Like, you're not really helping yourself in any way or another. So the method that you and I had talked about was foremost to create the most authenticity that you can in a song. Because at the end of the day, a song is a
Hmm.
way for you to bring whatever you're feeling to somebody else and hope that
Hmm.
they are able to feel the same, if not something similar, to gain
Right.
something from the experience. So, you know, we decide to focus on, what am I feeling at this moment? When is the time that I have felt this exact way before? What is that story? How can I write about it? How can I tell that story? And
Just tell the
hopefully
story.
invoke, yeah, just tell the story and hopefully invoke the same feeling. And so I've started now to just write exactly how I actually start with a diary entry. I just start writing. I just start going like, I'll be mad about something like this and so and so, blah, blah, blah. And I just start writing until I start to understand, okay, wait, what is the problem here? Who am I mad? What is the story I'm trying to tell right now? And
Hmm.
then I think about, okay, okay, maybe I'm mad at XYZ person. And maybe this person, okay, example. Maybe this I'm mad at a guy because he led me on and I thought he was such a nice guy. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. This is a story that I can tell because I experienced it over and over and over. And I know that it's relatable to other people. So maybe the story is introducing you to this really nice guy who is actually not that nice. And maybe that's the whole point of the story.
Sure.
And so going from there, expanding a little bit. And I tried to do different writing techniques to make it easier to rhyme or make it easier to come out with a creative lyric. There are like little practices that I should do every day and I don't. And there are little, ways to just I'm like write 10 minutes every morning or write with a specific, angle, time yourself for 90 seconds, things like that. So
Hmm.
I'm definitely not there. It's all a work in progress.
Sure. Now, have you ever, you said something there, and it's something that well, that I took from that is you said, I mean, basically the creative process for you and where you get it starts from a feeling, right? And
Right.
what you're feeling, whatever, trying to convey that, right? And using it to bring that out and use your voice. And it's funny because earlier in our conversation, you said that we talked about it, you used
Mm-hmm.
music
Right.
to bring you out of depression because you wanted
Yeah.
to have a voice. But
Right.
it's funny that you already knew how to do it years and years and years ago,
Huh.
but you never had anyone point it out to you that this is the way. You already knew. And I think that is the same thing with a lot of people is they start getting into something and they sometimes they just want to learn, know so much about every little thing and make it all perfect as opposed to just going with your gut. And that's really what landed you here in the first place from the beginning is going with your gut. So why
That is
wouldn't you
absolutely true.
do that why wouldn't it work with the music too, right? And it turns out, oh, it
Sure.
does. And I think that could serve a lot of people is not being a slave to just what's here in your mind
Mm-hmm.
and really toning that down and listening to what's going on in your heart, right? And what you're feeling and paying attention to that because human beings by nature are connected. We're connected to what's around us. And it's all big. There's a bunch of energy and vibrations. I mean, it's science, right? Science. And it's you bring that in and when it that gives us feeling, right? Those vibrations give you same way you feel bass in your back if you're blaring it in your car, right? You feel it in the seat.
It's
it's
just
the
the vibes.
same it's the same exactly. It's the same thing. So when that happens, I'm over here going, but we get in the I'm here, oh, it works. What do you know? When I went with my gut, that's what was right. There's a reason nature is telling you to feel that. And so much our mind gets away from that and says, no, this is what's logically correct. This is what I need to
Mm-hmm.
do. This is what people are going to respect. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we've gotten away from the other, and that leads to a lot of the problems for people, a lot of the depression, a lot of the getting lost in life, all the things you discussed here. So I really think that's really cool.
That's a really
And
nice perspective. Putting that emphasis on what does your gut say? It sounds so simple and it's not easy to
mhm,
do because when
no,
your gut is telling you something that so contradicts reality, when you have a dream that seems so far fetched from where you are, it it's almost depressing to follow it and depressing to not follow it at the same time. But at some point, your fear of regret outgrows your fear of failure. And
right,
I really think that you put it so simply, literally go with your gut because everything that your mind is telling you
100%.
is what's based on things that have been fed to us by that's not to say that nothing is important, like don't think about anything, nothing is important. No, I mean be smart about it. Like
Of
I have to
course.
have a day job or I can't be just doing music. I mean I don't literally I would be on the street. So be smart about it. But I really like that you put it so simply, so eloquently. Just go with your gut.
Go with your gut.
What
And
keeps screaming
sometimes
at
I
you? What
think
keeps you alive? What keeps you awake every day?
mhm. And I think at first, like from my own personal experience of doing that, at first
Mm-hmm.
it's like for your mind and the ego, there's so much fear of like, oh my God, what's that going to do? Right. But it's that illusion of it, but we create that illusion of choice when you were going to make that choice regardless. And that was always the choice you were going to make, whether you think it or not.
Interesting. I
and
like that.
how much you listen to the intuition. I think it's when you, if you fully go in on it, there are some things that immediately are what society has deemed to be negative, right? Like, oh, I lost money on this deal, or outside of music, right? Or I did this and people, what did people think? Who cares? And in the end, it's like, wow, look where it got me, right? But there's so much fear. And but after you do it, I think it becomes more and more. You have to build trust, just like any other relationship. I think we have to rebuild that trust with ourselves. And once you build that trust with yourself, we have it, but we lose it from our parents, from our influences, and
Absolutely.
then you have to regain that trust. And I think that's part, a real big part of the experience of a lifetime, right? Is rebuilding that trust with your true self. And I think everybody goes through it at different rates. And it seems like you went through it a lot and had no idea, right? It seems from what I'm seeing, you had no idea that it was happening. And then you
That's
just,
true.
and then over the course of time, you realize it more and more. And it's just, I think people that can, the younger you can figure that out, I think it's very fortunate
I
to have
agree.
that knowledge.
I wish education systems would enforce following, what you're passionate about and being able to learn more about that instead of being able to learn certain curriculum. And
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, a point on how you're talking about fear. It is my personal opinion that we're always going to have fear.
Of course.
You just have to decide which fear you're choosing. And so, like I, said earlier, I mean, what is it? What is it that's going to hurt you the most? The fear of embarrassment online, making videos, the fear of, I don't know, like sounding bad in front of, or thinking that you sound bad singing in front of people, or the fear of living a life where you never even tried. And so for
Yep.
me, the third one always outweighs everything
Fear
else.
of
But
regret.
fear of regret, but maybe it's not the same for everybody else. Not everyone, I think you just ultimately have to decide to choose what is going to be the fear that outweighs things for you.
I love that. Yep. I think so. I think so. So I, on the show, we did it the first time. I always make it a little thing. It's going to be simple, like this or that questions I like to do.
Okay.
Just, they're totally random, and I'm literally going to make them up off the top of my
Okay.
head.
Let's do it.
But it's going to get crazy. And if you want to give a little explanation as to why, I'm cool with it.
I'll keep it brief.
Yes. And
I'm
I'm
not.
sorry if a lot of it's food related. That's kind of, I don't know. I
Oh my
love
God.
food.
Well, I'm hungry. That's fine.
And
That's
all
great.
right. Spicy or mild?
Mild. I have heartburn.
Fair enough. Fair enough. East Coast, West Coast.
East Coast, baby. East
Yeah, that's
Coast.
what I'm talking about.
Northeast, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Big ear Tupac. You just answered this question.
Embarrassing to say that I don't really like. I don't really have context for either. I'm just gonna say Tupac because I at least know more of his songs.
Okay. So East Coast, but West Coast music. I'm with you. Okay.
Okay.
Very
Yeah,
contradictory,
I don't
but
even think
very,
so.
also very inclusive, making
Let's
sure
keep it contradictory.
we
Why
don't want
not?
to segregate our audience, right? We don't
Absolutely
want
not. Absolutely not. I'm here for everyone.
to. Okay. Okay. Hot or cold?
Hot.
Okay.
Everyone says, "Oh, I'd rather be cold. I'd rather layer up." No, if
No
you're in
way.
extreme situations, you cannot layer up, and if and you cannot. So I think if you're in extreme situations, I'd always rather be hot because
Is
it hurts less.
something they say up there that I'd rather be cold? Rather be.
Yes, people would rather be cold here. Can you believe that?
So people here always think, they always say the opposite of that. They're always like, it has to be hot, or no way I want it to be cold over hot. So it's just funny. I think up there, they're just coping with the weather sucks in Washington, D.C.
Okay. But you know what? It's 80 degrees right now, and it's cool in Texas.
Right. And that's fine. I mean, but here it's what, 88 today. So
That's insane. You just want where you're comfortable with, I guess.
and I would rather be hot all the
I'd
time.
rather be hot all the time.
Yeah, all the time, because it's like
Losing calories, at least.
I see the perspective of, okay, I can layer up. But anyway, horror movie or comedy?
Comedy. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I don't need to be put in a situation where I'm more scared for fun.
Okay, I'm gonna judge, and I don't judge, but I'm gonna judge you on this. What's your favorite comedy movie?
Oh my God. What's my favorite comedy movie? Okay, wait, but my favorite movie is not comedy. Can I say
I
my
know, but
favorite?
favorite comedy. What's your favorite movie?
Okay, my favorite
Before I
movie is
even want
Catch
to
Me If
know.
You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay, that was a great movie. Which it's kind of a comedy.
It's not a
What's your
comedy.
It's kind of a comedy. I think there's some
It's
I
kind
think
of a
it's
comedy. Okay, let's count it. Let's count. Fine. If you want to
well,
count
no,
it,
I
count
want
it.
to know what full on comedy though. What's your favorite one?
Full. Okay, listen. I'm not really a movie person. Okay, I'm more of a TV show person. Does
TV.
that
Okay,
count? Can I
favorite
give you my?
comedy TV show. What's your favorite
Okay, my
comedy
favorite
show?
comedy TV show is Parks and Rec. 100%. I
Oh
want to be
yeah,
Leslie Knope. She's my dream. She's my idol.
Ron Swanson. It's the
Yeah,
man.
you are definitely Ron Swanson. Now that I think about it, you're definitely Ron Swanson.
I love that. I'm honored. Um,
100%.
he's actually like that, like in real life. You go watch like his interviews and stuff. Like
Yeah,
that's like
that's
he's
a
not
little
even
bit
acting.
Lester.
It's crazy. It seems like the most crazy character, but then you watch him, you're like, he's not acting. He's literally just like on camera being himself.
I love that. I know so many dads like that too. My dad's like that too.
Building his own boats and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one, night or day.
Night or day?
Yeah.
Hmm. Night or day? I'm a night owl. I was gonna give
Really?
some cringy, like, but the day and the light and it's where your dreams come true. Nah, the
No.
night. I
The night.
everything gets done in the night. Like your dreams get done in the night. Really.
Okay. The
Yeah,
work gets put in
you
the
gotta
night.
stay at your day job all day. That's I mean,
I thought I had you pegged for daytime because of the needing to talk all the time, and nobody wants to talk at night.
that well, I just call up my friends in different time zones. Don't worry, I still get it done. Don't
Okay.
worry, I still get it
Get it
done.
in. Okay. Gabby, where can everybody find you if they want to go and get to know you more? What's your plug here? Give me your social
Yeah.
media.
Okay, at Gabi Marii Music, GABIMARII Music on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter. I do nothing on Twitter though. My personal phone number. No, I'm just joking. No, please reach out. Please DM me. Also, if you want to email gabimarimusic@gmail.com. Or if you happen to be a fan of Aaron's, he is one of my producers. And so just let him know.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got some amazing stuff going to be coming out, so be sure and tune in. She's also got some, controversial. You get a little bit political and all that. We're not going to do that today,
We are
but
not going to do that today.
it is.
We keep it nice and light.
Yeah, it can be interesting. But, this is more of a feeling good type of podcast. So,
Absolutely.
Gabby, I really appreciate you coming out. It's been amazing. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm so honored to be on here, and I can't wait to hear this episode and all the episodes you got coming up. Big stuff coming for Aaron.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube, leave reviews. It really helps get us seen, and share it with your friends, all that fun stuff. I love you.
Don't forget. Thank y'all.
See ya.